Level 1. The Trainee. You're 19. You just dropped out of community college because 2 semesters of business administration felt like sitting in a coffin with fluorescent lighting. You need something that isn't a desk. You find a brochure for commercial dive school. 6 months, $20,000 in tuition you borrowed from your uncle, and a campus that's basically a concrete lot with a pool, a welding shop, and a hyperbaric chamber that smells like the inside of a submarine. There are 32 guys in your class. By graduation, there'll be 19. The first month is physics and physiology. Boyle's law, Dalton's law, Henry's law. You learn that air becomes poison below 60 meters. You learn that nitrogen narcosis makes you feel drunk and happy right before it kills you. You learn that if you hold your breath and ascend, your lungs will rupture like a balloon in a microwave. The pool phase breaks people. Full blackout mask, you can't see anything. Instructors rip your regulator out of your mouth at depth. They tie your hoses in knots. They simulate a catastrophic equipment failure every single dive, and you have 90 seconds to solve it by touch alone, or you're pulled from the program. 3 guys quit in week 2. 1 passes out and doesn't come back. You pass everything. Not because you're brave, you're terrified every single time. You pass because you've discovered something about yourself that no classroom ever revealed. When everything goes wrong underwater, your hands keep moving. Your brain slows down instead of speeding up. The panic is there, but it doesn't reach your fingers. Level 2, Dive Tender. Nobody's hiring divers. Everybody's hiring tenders. You're 21, 6 months out of school, and the only job offer is the one where you don't get wet. A tender is the guy on deck who makes sure the diver doesn't die. You manage the umbilical, 300 feet of hose carrying breathing gas, hot water, comms, and a pneumo line, feeding it out as the diver descends, pulling slack, watching for snags. If the diver calls emergency, you're the one who activates the bailout system in under 8 seconds, or someone's kid grows up without a father. The pay is $180 a day on a good contract. You work 28 days on, 28 days off, sleeping in a bunk the size of a coffin on a vessel that never stops moving. The Gulf of Mexico in January sounds tropical until you're on a 200-foot workboat in 6-foot swells at 3 a.m., dry heaving into a bucket. For 2 years, you never touch the water. You watch. You hand tend. You learn every valve, every manifold, every emergency procedure by watching other men do the job you trained for. You graduated top of your class, and you're handing someone else his helmet. That's the part nobody warned you about. But you're learning something they don't teach in school: how jobs go wrong. You see a diver get his umbilical snagged on a pipe flange 60 meters down. You see the panic in his breathing pattern before he says a word. You watch the supervisor talk him through it, calm, flat, emotionless, and you memorize that voice because someday you'll need to be it. Level 3, Air Diver. Your first contract as a working diver. Inland job. Bridge inspection on the Mississippi River. Visibility? 0. You can't see your own hand. You descend into brown water that smells like diesel and decay, feeling along concrete pilings with your gloves, scraping marine growth to inspect for cracks. Your helmet light is useless. It just turns the silt into a glowing brown wall 6 inches from your face. You navigate by touch and by counting kicks. The work is boring until it isn't. Week 3. Your pneumo hose catches on rebar sticking out of a collapsed section. You're at 40 feet in current that's pushing you sideways. You can't see what's holding you. You reach back, find the snag, work it free with one hand while bracing against the piling with the other. 45 seconds. Your supervisor's voice in your helmet. Good work. Continue inspection. Like nothing happened. By 24, you're doing offshore platform inspections in the Gulf of Mexico. The money jumps, $450 a day plus depth pay. You're diving to 50 meters on air, cutting steel, welding in zero-viz conditions, replacing anodes the size of refrigerators on jacket legs crusted with 3 decades of marine life. Your hands are permanently nicked from barnacles. The cuts never fully heal because salt water and hydraulic fluid keep reopening them. You get your first decompression injury at 25, a mild skin bend, mottled rash across your chest, joint pain in your left shoulder for 3 days. The company doctor clears you after a chamber ride. You're back in the water the next morning. Nobody mentions it again. The unwritten rule: if you make a big deal out of a minor bend, you get a reputation. Reputations cost contracts. Level 4, Mixed Gas Diver. You pass your mixed gas certification on the 3rd attempt. Heliox, trimix, surface applied at depths beyond what air allows. This is where the money starts and the margin for error disappears. Your first bell dive, 90 meters in the North Sea, November. You climb into the diving bell, a steel sphere 7 feet across, no windows, with one other diver. The hatch seals. The winch lowers you through the moon pool into black water. You watch the depth gauge climb, 30, 50, 70, 90. At the bottom, the bellman equalizes pressure, and you lock out into water so cold you can feel it through the hot water suit, a faint, persistent chill that never leaves. At 90 meters, your voice sounds like a cartoon character. The helium compresses your vocal cords, and everything comes out high-pitched and squeaky. You can't understand your own partner without the voice unscrambler. It's disorienting, like working next to a stranger wearing your friend's suit. The old lead diver on this job is a guy named Mackie, 53 years old, been sat diving since the 80s. One night in the chamber, he tells you about the early days. No safety standards, no redundancy, guys dying every season. He tells you about a friend who was in a chamber system when a seal failed. 9 atmospheres to 1 in a fraction of a second. There wasn't anything left to identify, he says, flat, like he's talking about weather. Just a sound, like a cannon. You don't sleep that night. Level 5, Saturation Diver. Your first full saturation campaign. 28 days pressurized at 180 meters in a steel tube with 5 other men. The chamber is 12 feet long and 6 feet across. 6 bunks, a toilet with no door, a small table. Everything you eat comes through an airlock. Reheated meals in foil trays that taste like metal because helium changes your sense of taste. You can't have anything flammable. No books, no paper, no cotton clothes. Everything is polyester. The air is 98% helium, 2% oxygen. You lose heat so fast that the chamber is kept at 86 degrees Fahrenheit and you're still cold. The bell runs are 6 hours. You descend in the bell, lock out at depth, work on the seafloor, cutting pipe, operating hydraulic tools, guiding crane lifts by hand in water where you can see maybe 3 feet. The seafloor at 180 meters is silent. No current, no fish, no color. Just silt and steel and your own breathing. Day 11. You're cutting a flange with a hydraulic grinder when your hot water suit fails. The supply hose from the bell develops a kink. Within 30 seconds, the water inside your suit drops from 104 degrees Fahrenheit to ambient, 39 degrees Fahrenheit. The cold hits like electricity. Your hands stop working. Your chest locks up. You have maybe 4 minutes before hypothermia shuts down your fine motor skills permanently. You radio the bellman. He unkinks the hose. Warm water floods back in. The whole event lasts 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Back on deck, nobody files a report. The supervisor notes it in the log as brief interruption to hot water supply. You go to your bunk, close your eyes, and your hands won't stop shaking for an hour. Level 6, Lead Diver. 2,000 hours of bottom time at saturation depth. You're running the bell now, deciding who locks out first, managing the work plan underwater, keeping time on gas consumption. This is where the job stops being about your own survival and starts being about someone else's. You've got a new guy on his second SAT campaign, 26, eager, not stupid but not seasoned. Day 8. He's cutting a corroded riser when his umbilical wraps around a valve wheel he can't see. He pulls. It tightens. He pulls harder. His breathing spikes. You can hear it through the calm, that rapid, shallow pattern you remember from your tender days. You talk him through it. Calm, flat, emotionless. Exactly the voice you memorized 10 years ago. Stop pulling. Stop. Reach behind your left shoulder. Follow the hose. You're going to find a loop. Don't yank it. Rotate it counterclockwise. Good. Now back up one kick. He's free in 40 seconds. He doesn't speak for the rest of the shift. The money is real now. $1,400 a day, 28-day hitches, 4 or 5 campaigns a year. You clear $200,000 in a good year. Your body is not fine. Your knees ache from pressure changes. You get ringing in your ears that comes and goes. The company sends you for annual physicals, and the doctor says your bone density scans show early signs of dysbaric osteonecrosis, dead bone tissue from years of pressure cycling. He says it's manageable. He doesn't say what happens if it isn't. Level 7, Diving Supervisor. You stop going in the water, not by choice, by promotion. Diving Supervisor. You sit in the dive control room, a windowless box full of monitors, gas panels, and comm systems. You watch your divers through grainy cameras. You monitor their breathing rates, their depth, their gas consumption. When something goes wrong, you're the voice in their helmet. Calm, flat, emotionless. Your first week supervising, a storm rolls in over the North Sea. Forecast said force 6, but it's building to force 9. The vessel starts heaving. You've got 2 divers locked out at 240 meters, mid-task on a pipeline repair. The dynamic positioning system is fighting to hold the ship steady over the well site. If the ship drifts more than 15 meters, the diving bell, with your 2 men's lifeline attached to it, will be dragged sideways. DP alarm sounds. Yellow alert. Vessel excursion beyond 5% of watch circle. You have a decision. Abort the dive and begin emergency recovery, or hold and trust the DP system. If you abort, the job delays 3 days and costs the client $2 million. If you hold and the system fails, 2 men die. You abort. The bell comes up, your divers are safe. The client screams. Your superintendent backs you. 3 weeks later, a different vessel in the same field loses DP in a storm. The supervisor held. The bell was dragged 40 meters laterally. Both divers survived, barely. One never dives again. You don't talk about it. But you keep the weather printout from that night in your locker for 6 years. Level 8, Superintendent. You run the diving department for an offshore contractor. 12 supervisors, 60 divers, 4 vessels. Your job is logistics, contracts, client management. You haven't been underwater in 3 years. Your hands don't shake anymore. Your knees still do. You earn $180,000 a year, salary plus bonuses. You have a house you're never in, a wife who learned to live without you during the 28-day hitches and never quite unlearned it, and a 13-year-old son who thinks your job is something with oil rigs. The job now is paperwork, phone calls, and deciding which men go into which chambers on which jobs. You know every one of them by name. You know their wives' names. You know which ones drink too much on their 28 off, and which ones are one bad physical away from medical termination. In March, a diver on one of your vessels, a 29-year-old lead diver named Colton, 3 years into SAT, reports numbness in his left leg after decompression. The medic calls it a minor neurological bend. They do a treatment table. Colton's fine the next day. He dives again. 2 weeks later, same leg, worse. MRI shows spinal cord involvement. He's 29. He'll walk with a cane for the rest of his life. You sign the incident report. You call his wife. You go back to your office and sit in your chair for a long time, looking at the wall. 18 years, 4,000 hours of bottom time, 28 men you've personally supervised who went home safe, one who didn't walk the same way again, a body that works, mostly, and a bank account that proves you did something most people don't believe is real when you describe it at parties. And somewhere right now, there's a 19-year-old kid in a concrete dive school in Louisiana, fogging up his mask in a 15-foot pool, trying to tie a knot he can't see with gloves he can barely feel. He doesn't know what helium tastes like yet. He doesn't know what silence sounds like at 300 meters. He's about to learn.